we are now officially opening for certification for our member companies, and we've decided to hold these webinars just to introduce member companies to the process, give you an opportunity to ask any questions, and help you smooth the process of getting certified. So today we have Anais Legel, who works on our certification team at the ICoCA Secretariat, who will be going through the presentation and answering any questions anybody has. On your screen you should see a box for those of you that are accessing via the internet. There should be a box listing the attendees, and next to your name there's a microphone icon which you can use to mute or unmute your microphone if you want to ask any questions or make any comments. There's also a chat box, and you can use that to type in any questions or comments. So we'll go through the presentation, and at the end there'll be a discussion opportunity where we will answer any questions that are sent through via the chat box, or if you prefer, we can answer questions that you can give directly verbally. So let me proceed with the webinar. As you might know, the International Code of Conduct Association is a Swiss non-profit association. We were established in 2013. We have 3 pillars representing governments, civil society, and the private security industry. We're governed by a board of directors which has 12 members. Each of the pillars is represented equally, so there are 4 directors from each of the 3 pillars, and the association is administered by a secretariat based in Geneva. This year in September we held an annual general assembly, and we had several milestones that we passed. We had approval of the membership of 2 of our articles of the association, Article 12, which covers our monitoring function, and Article 13, which covers our complaints procedure. We also had agreement on the extension of a deadline for members to achieve ICoCA certification. They now have until September 2018 when the annual General Assembly will be held. And we also announced that the certification process would officially open in November, as in yesterday. So we're now open for business for certification. So to talk about the certification procedure and the requirements, I'll now hand over to Anais.
Thank you, Martin. Good morning to everybody. I guess good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. I hope you hear me well. So let's go back to basics a bit and see what certification is. Actually, the Article 11 of the Articles of Association says something about it. It says the association shall be responsible for certifying under the code that the company's systems and policies meet the code principle. I mean, you can see the entire quote here on the screen. So what does that mean in concrete terms? It's actually explained in the certification procedure that was approved last year by the General Assembly, and which content we will quickly present in the next 2 slides. So first, I'm going to present really quickly what we're going to talk about. First, the certification procedure describes standards that are recognized by the board and that company can use to apply for ICoCA certification. And another slide, we're going to show you that the certification procedure also describes certification for individual companies. That means how companies can apply for ICoCA certification. So now on the screen you can see the first step, let's say, in the certification procedure. How the association recognize standards that will be valid for companies to apply to ICoCA certification. So as described in the certification procedure, the board assesses and recognizes standards consistent with the code. So that they take the code and they take the standard and check the differences, and that's a gap analysis. That's what you're going to find. That's what we call the Annex A in every recognition statement. Then the board defines for each standard additional information relative to human rights and humanitarian impact of PSC operations. That's the Annex B of any recognition standard. And that's Annex B. So if you see on the slides, you have the standards, which are the entire bars. The blue part is what's similar from the code and the standard, and the gray part is the part that the additional information we're going to ask you, that is ICoCA, to present to us additionally to what you've been audited to the third-party certification. So to date, there's 2 standards that have been recognized. That means evaluated by the board. You have PSC1 and ISO 28007. As you can see on the slide, they have different levels of additional information, but we're going to discuss a bit more about that later with some examples. For your information, the board is currently evaluating another standard, which is ISO 18788. The draft recognition statement has been shared with the members and observers yesterday for public comments. So we invite you all to comment on it if you have anything about Annex A, Annex B, or even the draft recognition statement. And the recognition is anticipated, of this standard, is anticipated before the end of the year. Now we've talked about recognition of standard. We're going to talk about the certification of individual companies, how the certification procedure actually shows how companies can get certified by the association. So the procedure develops steps that shows you how to do. First, as you can see on the diagram on the screen, the company needs to get certified to a recognized standard. A recognized standard, you can remember what we talked about in the previous slide. And to be recognized, to be able to be certified to a recognized standard, they need to be certified by a third-party body, which is a certification body. This certification body was accredited, is independent, accredited by a national accreditation body. And once you are certified, third-party certified to a recognized standard, you have your certificate and what you do at that point. So if you want to apply to ICoCA certification, you need to hand over a number of documents. Certificate on one point, the certificate that you hold, a third-party certificate, plus additional information that we talked about before, which is identified in Annex B. For confidentiality reasons, we ask that the submissions to the Secretariat of those informations be sent by courier services, meaning that you can put on or by paper in a USB stick, and then we're going to keep it on a secure computer. If you don't do that, we are not, we cannot ensure that it cannot be totally confidential. I mean, we will do our best, of course, but that's the securest way. Then once it arrives to the Secretariat, we will review the package, the submission, and follow the process such as described in the certification procedure. So for more information about what to exactly talk about. We are developing specific guidance to help the company go through certification process and understand the steps. So that's what you see on your screen right now. Guidance. We are actually drafting it, and it should be available in the next few days. What do I mean by help for companies That means this document going to provide you with examples of information of documents that you can provide to the Secretariat for consideration, and that would match the additional information we are requiring you to submit. There are some documents that companies will have to provide irrespective of the third-party certification they are holding, meaning irrespective of the standard they are certified to. That includes the certificates, which is a proof of your third-party certification. The annexes to the certificate, usually that describes the scope of certification. Written human rights risk impact assessment. And usually it includes at a minimum human rights specific components as specified in the code, in the guidance, and also in Annex B of any recognition statement. We provide you with an example of a human rights risk assessment for you to be able to see what we would expect of you. Of course, it's an example, so we welcome any other human rights risk assessment. What we want is basically check the methodology in place to address adverse impact to human rights. Also, we would ask, irrespective of the standard and of the certification you're holding, the audit report. We would talk a bit more about this in the next slide. And finally, the non-conformance report. So providing the audit report, more specifically, to apply for ICoCA certification, companies are currently requested to provide a full audit report and most recent surveillance report, if applicable. This is subject to any redaction of particularly sensitive information. Of course, we would ask that those redactions be justified. We also require that to assess the additional information, we actually ask the audit report to assess if the additional information is to determine your compliance with the code. We ask the audit report for interim period. The Secretariat and the ICoCA will learn about what's in the audit reports and what we need from those exactly, and make the process better to, of course, avoid any duplication in the future. We don't want you to provide the audit report to do again what the certification bodies are doing. It's just to make our process of reviewing additional information better. So we will refine the process in the short, medium, long term and build experience on it. So now a bit of even more concrete information. In the guidance that I talked about before, we will try to give you examples of what documentation you can provide. I talked also in the previous slides about the documentation that you should have to provide irrespective of the certification you are holding. There is also some specific information for each of the standards. That's the additional information we talked about. We're going to provide a number of examples. It's non-exhaustive, so it's just for your better understanding, and the information it's asked on the basis of the comparative analysis between the code and the standard that we talked about earlier. And of course, at any stage, now or later, when you actually putting together your submission, don't hesitate to ask the Secretariat if you have any question on any information. So first example, that's an example of additional information you can find in Annex B for PSC1. One information we require is the manner in which the company requires its subcontractors that provide security functions to be bound by the code. An example of documentation that you can provide for showing that you actually do that in your company. For example, you could provide the model contract that your company has between with your subcontractors. That will help us assess whether your policies and systems actually meet the requirements of the code. A second example that is additional information you can find in ISO 28007. The information that we require is the manner in which anti-corruption and bribery standards are included in the company's programs and program or policy. An example of documentation you could provide, for example, the company's anti-corruption and bribery policy or internal company code of conduct that could show us how you actually implement this requirement of the code. Finally, a third example, again found in additional information in ISO 28007, how the company's policies ensure that no one under the age of 18 is employed to carry out security services. Again, documentation that you could provide, for instance, a screening and vetting policy or an employment checklist, something that clearly indicates that no person under the age of 18 should be employed by the company, for example. So this list is of course non-exhaustive. I would ask you to refer to each additional information for each standard and to the guidance that's going to be published very soon, or ask any question to the Secretariat at any stage if you have any question. So now we've talked about the current process. What's the way forward? Certification processing. So as you know, if you were at the last General Assembly, the deadline for certification of current members, ICoCA certification for current members is September 2018. So all current members should be certified to a third-party standard, then to the ICoCA by September 2018. The Secretariat aims at processing information submissions as fast and as thorough as possible. So the estimated processing time now is between 2 weeks and a month for now. And we will ask, of course, we will thank you again in advance for your patience. If it's not exactly between 2 weeks and a month, we are in a learning process and we are trying really hard to make it happen as the best as possible. And again, any company that already has third-party certification is encouraged to apply as soon as possible and to ask questions. Other projects we currently have at the Secretariat and associations level on certification. Increased engagement with certification bodies to understand their work and also to talk about the code and cooperation between both our structures. So that's something that's going to happen, already starting to happen. So we are really looking forward to that. And also we will do a study on improving access to ICoCA certification for member companies. So we encourage companies to contact us if they are interested, if they have questions, or if they felt challenges to become certified to a third-party certification or to the code and not certified to the code, certified to the association. So don't hesitate to contact us. That's all for me for now. Thank you very much, and over to you, Martin.
Thank you, Anis. So we're now open for questions. I'd also like to draw your attention to our website. If you look on the certification page of the website, which I'll try to pull up now, this page, which is under Functions tab, is where you'll find the documentation that Anis has been discussing. So all of the information and all of the documents that you'll need to consult are available on this page.